What is up, everybody? Back at you again with another episode here. Extremely excited to have the one and only VeVeMagic with us today. If you do not follow her on Twitter yet, please do so. She's got everything that you need to know about Disney, and I'm so excited to have her here to pick her brain today. So what is up? How are you doing?
Good. Thanks for having me again. I'm super excited.
I'm super excited to have you back. I know like that last interview we did, it was one of my most viral videos. It was all things you need to know Disney. I think it went over 16,000
Oh, wow.
views. Yeah, so thanks for
Awesome.
that.
I'm happy to be here. I like love this stuff, and I just have such a blast talking about it. So I'm glad other people found it enjoyable.
Oh, for sure. And I don't know if anybody's following your Twitter, probably a lot of people here, but it's amazing how much you post about Disney. Like, how often are you at Disneyland? I see so many pictures.
As often as possible. I do save some photos to post a couple days later or whatever, when I'm doing the AR photos. But if I'm taking a selfie there, most likely I'm there that day. It's funny. I try to go probably like 2 to 3 times a month. I went last weekend, and then 2 days later, I was back again because a relative of mine texted me and was like, I know you were just there, but we're going to go if you want to come. And I'm like, let me check my schedule. Yeah, I'm coming. So it's like I went back to back, and it's a long drive. And we hit traffic. I'm stuck in the car 2 hours each way usually, but wow. I love it.
No kidding. Well, for them, it's like a free tour guide anyways. So
yeah, right. They were actually really happy that I went with them because they hadn't been since COVID. And there's been like new systems implemented, and there's like a new fast pass system. Wow. Now they call it a lightning lane, and you have to buy it as opposed to like getting tickets, and they didn't know how to do any of that. And I had done it once, so I kind of had gotten my feet wet, and the second time was much smoother for me. And they're like, thank you so much for coming, because we would not have known what to do. Wow. So when I do have people that like message me and ask for tips going to the park, and I always say, like, look at that app, because it's overwhelming if you aren't ready for it. You know what I mean? Like,
no
you
kidding.
Just show up, you're going to be sort of not prepared.
Yeah, it's definitely a lot. And I know you've been showing me some of the new merch that you got. That's pretty sweet. Like, I think there was a t-shirt and a water bottle and a few other things. Do you want to show that stuff off?
Yeah. Okay, so first, I got this, which people will like because it relates to our golden moments. And I collect a lot of the Starbucks Disney stuff, so it has the Starbucks logo on the other side, but it's got the gold, and it's the 50th for Disney World. So that's cool. And then, I was talking to you a lot about utility that I get from having my, season pass. It's called a Magic Key now, because they rebranded that as well. I had to come out with a new system for Disneyland. And part of the reason I believe in utility so much is because I buy this pass, and with the pass, there's different tiers. So like our NFTs could have different tiers depending on what you own. And the highest tier gets perks like free parking, 20% off merchandise, 15% off food. And then, they have, this is a good one too. They have lounges on either side of the parks that only pass holders can go into. So it's, it's like the poor man's 33, but and you can go in there and hang out, and they have like pictures opportunities and like some cool stuff. And you might be able to buy specific merch in there, but you have to hold a pass. So like, these are all the things that kind of go through my head when we talk about utility that we could potentially have. And so like, this is actually an old shirt, but this is something that only pass holders at the time could buy. And I love it because it's the Main Street Electrical Light Parade. But in the center there, you see it says AP for annual pass.
So sick.
So like, that's something that only I can have, and other people that have their passes. And then now we have these keys, and they do certain promos where if you go to the parks, and you're already getting in the park for free because you're paying for your pass, or you already paid for it. But they want you to come because they want your money. They want you to buy food and drink and merch. And so they entice you by doing these giveaways. If you go to the parks, like right now, this is the free giveaway, and you can hook it on your backpack. And it has the Magic Key logo, and it's a reusable straw because they're trying to be environmentally conscious, and they have paper straw. This was actually really bright because they have been getting so much negative feedback over their paper straws, because if you've ever drank out of one, they're horrible, but they are trying to do the right thing. So these are plastic, but it's reusable, and you can just carry it with you. And then a couple weeks before that, they were giving away sunglasses, and it says, Disneyland has your key on it. And they're actually pretty good sunglasses. And it
Wow.
came with these pictures. Now, it's not necessarily worth anything, but it could be in the future. And I could frame it, and it's nice cardstock, and it's just something cool. And it was free. And then they also do all sorts of magnets for pass holders. I mean, I got this when I signed up. I got also a button, free button.
So cool. Like there's so much.
In the past, I've gotten, when we didn't have, when everyone, they try to pep everyone up during COVID, and they did away with annual passes, which everybody was upset about. They called us legacy pass holders, and we still were able to use our discounts because they wanted us to go shop in downtown Disney before the parks opened, and you could get these free magnets when you shopped. And then, they have ones for Halloween events that are just for pass holders, and then celebrating, 65 years and Halloween. I mean, all this stuff.
Wow.
The list goes on,
Yeah. So, I mean, like, just given all the stuff you're getting as a member and seeing all this, this physical memorabilia, like, I mean, I think, we have to be pretty confident that there's probably a good chance that we're going to receive utility for these Disney NFTs in the future, whether that be in the Disney metaverse or potentially at a theme park. But I mean, just given, all the stuff that you're getting as a member, I mean, and people think about the amount of money people are paying for these Disney NFTs. I mean, there should be something there, I think, right?
Yeah. I mean, I think Disney is still sort of in a discovery phase on one extent. I mean, we've seen that they're doing a lot of hiring, and they're trying to get their feet more wet and understand the environment, which they're probably even way ahead of us at this point. But I don't doubt at all that if it's not already planned, that it's at least being talked about. I was doing some research, and they like to stay very current with what's going on in the world, especially in the collector's world. So I found out that back in like 1994, during the huge Pog craze, Disney got involved, and they gave away Pogs to kids 14 and under. And they had a Disneyland slammer that was the castle, and it was like iridescent, and that faded out. But they're always staying current with what's going on. And so they know that, you have the Bored Ape yacht clubs that have utility, and you have all these other NFT projects that have utility. And so I just believe that they're going to find a way where they can get involved with that. And it might be something simple, but when you compare it to like the utility that I get by having my magic key, that's where I just see the puzzles fitting together, because they already do that so much.
Wow. And it's so cool because like companies could provide utility that people can't. And I'm like, I just think like if Disney really got serious about that, whether that be now or in the future, I mean, I just can't imagine, what kind of potential perks you can
NFT
have.
lounges. What if we have an NFT lounge?
Right.
I mean, how fun would that be? Like that, That's the stuff that we all, all the Veve community talks about in the background. Everyone's right now planning to go to the UK for a con over there. And it's like, you don't think if we had like a place where it was specific to NFT holders, any Disney NFT, you could have just one thing, and you get to go into this like club just for us, this, building, and it had all this fun stuff you could do with your NFTs. Oh my, like, come on, we'd be there in a heartbeat.
No kidding. And I was, what, I actually wanted to ask you, because I recently bought some Winnie the Poohs because I was seeing the hype, and I was like, oh my God, like, I guess they're right. Winnie the Pooh has like the 4th largest market cap, like, but I'm not a fan of Winnie the Pooh personally, but I'm just like, okay, the community is looking like that's the next thing. But I really wanted to pick your brain on that, because I'm like, is this really something that you could see being collected by a lot of people, or is this something that potentially is phasing out, or had a lot of leverage and big hype in the past? Like, I just wanted to get your take on that.
Yeah. So I'm not personally a huge Winnie the Pooh fan myself either. I feel like it's been overhyped a little bit. When you look at market cap, you also have to look at its total market cap since the beginning of time. And Winnie the Pooh has been around since 1924. So that's a lot of years. And it doesn't even touch Pokemon, which has not been around nearly as long, So if you look at it, you got to kind of look at it with a different perspective. I do find it interesting that it is so close compared to Mickey Mouse, but Winnie the Pooh has like had a lot of movies, like where they get a lot of revenue from people buying tickets to movie theaters and all that as well. but there's definitely a very specific fan base for them.
Mhm.
There are rides at the parks. I don't know if all of them have it, but I know Disney World has one, Disneyland has one. Tokyo Disney supposedly has a really, really good one. I haven't been, but I have friends that have and love that ride. And yeah, it's just a different fan base. Like I would kind of equate Winnie the Pooh. Nobody get mad at me. I'm not saying comparisons, but like it's kind of like Stitch fans. Like I don't get Stitch either personally, but they're huge, huge fans. People that like Stitch are all in and collect. And same with Tinkerbell. Tinkerbell is not a huge character for me, but there's huge, huge Tinkerbell fans, especially in our community. I've seen people like, I'd give up a kidney to have a Tinkerbell NFT, like,
Right.
so that's the beautiful thing about Disney is all characters appeal to somebody in some way. And it is a beloved character, it's a beloved story. So I do understand it. Do I value it more than some of the other Goldens? No. He wasn't, I think he's a common as well, right? And so
Yes, yeah.
common are, some of the more popular ones. So I understand it. And the NFT for sure is going to do well. But
Right.
like, if I was just coming in, like, would I personally buy that before I'd like try to get golden moments from the first set? No, like for me, the first set still holds more value. All of them, whether it's a Wally or whatever. I just think because it was the first. I mean, look at like season 1. We talk about season 1 all the time of all the things we got, and it could be, it might even be a Mermicorn that's going to be more valuable because it came in season 1. But like, if I'm looking at that, I would prefer to collect, the season 1 golden moments before I do that. But yeah, there's a lot of Pooh fans out there.
Yeah. Well, I mean, it's so fascinating that you say that, because I feel like what a lot of people do in terms of, making their NFT investment decisions, they'll just look at market cap and then say, oh, okay, well, that's a perfect example is Coke, because it was even a bigger company than Disney by market cap, but like the Globes aren't doing, I mean, they're doing okay, but I think, maybe when we get more users and stuff, or there's more hype around it, who knows? But I think it's also like that collectability factor. What's the target audience that's in the app? Like most of them are crypto people, a lot of them are Marvel people, comic people. And it's like, well, then what do they really want? Like, what are they doing because they think they're going to make an investment, and what do they actually want to hold on to? So I think there's so many factors, right? That come
Yeah.
into
You know
these
what's
decisions.
surprising? What's surprising to me too, is the Woody versus Pooh.
Ah,
Because I'm really surprised at how, I know a lot of people have stacks of Woody, and there are a lot of people that get it and believe in him, but he hasn't taken off nearly like I thought he would. And he's a really good NFT, and he's a really, really, really popular character. And he's kind of like, the Pixar golden boy. So it's like,
yeah.
for me, like that's been surprising. Like I bought kind of a little bit at the high, like right when they came out, and the market goes, just because I saw the prices and I'm like, what? Like I couldn't believe it. And he's a common too, because he's popular. And so it's funny when I'm just looking at the comparison of like those two characters that I don't personally get it. Like I think both are great value, but I'm just like, but you guys, have you seen like Lightning McQueen and Woody and some of those amazing Pixar collectibles we got with full color? Who knows, they could be animated in the future, like all that kind of stuff. I'm like, that gets my wheels turning,
No kidding. And what's interesting that you say that too, like aesthetically for me, the first golden moments, I thought like, especially like C3PO and R2D2, I thought the detail, even Elsa, was fantastic. But on these new ones, like I don't know if the attention to detail, like when I was looking closer in on the NFT itself, it just didn't look as grand to me. Like it looked like the coloring was even a bit different. So I thought that was interesting. And then like you said, with Pixar, that almost just got like left people's minds, right? Like, yeah, like I still think like both of those sets are obviously really cheap right now and probably good ROI long term, but I'm surprised people aren't picking up on them.
I am too. And I, like I said, I've seen vaults where it's like a whole corner of Woody and like lightning. So like, yeah, there are definitely people that are stacking, and I wish I could stack more because I would totally go after it. But yeah, that's been a surprising one for me for sure. When people were like, oh, I think it's going to come out at like 200, I was like, really? Like I was surprised it was even below that. Really surprised, because I think those are really well done, and you know, they are almost more appealing to like our generation now, like the demographics wise, like a lot of
Right.
us have seen a lot of these Pixar films.
Right. No kidding. And what the heck happened to our friend Steamboat? Like that took a nosedive. And I'm surprised by that. Like that's a beautiful NFT. I don't know. Am I wrong? Like,
no, I mean,
yeah.
it's such a historical piece. I personally don't understand it. I think it's, you know, I think we're getting into the phase, I'm noticing it myself, where we are now, you know, they told us a while back, you're gonna have to pick and choose. You can't have it all.
Right.
And we are getting into that spot, I feel. But like I'm having to pick and choose. And I almost actually sold a couple of duplicates of the common and uncommon, so that I could have the funds to go get some of this stuff. And then I'm like, I just can't do it. I can't do it. But some people may have to do that because they might like the other stuff that's coming out. But like, I just hope you're looking at the bigger picture and you're not FOMOing. Like everyone's talking about it. These are the new big pieces. So I'm going to, you know, dump Steamboat. Like that's probably, if you only have one, that's not a good move, because
Okay.
like this is Steamboat Willie. This is an iconic piece. Like when you start up your movies now on Disney Plus, who do you see whistling? You know, I mean, we all know about like the history and talked extensively about it. And, you know, we've heard David Yu say that that's like one of his favorite pieces, and not that we should buy because of that, but I mean, he understands, you know, like,
I know. And I wonder if they should like make it like, because I know everybody was pissed about the tags. They're like, oh, it doesn't have FA or FE. So I'm like, I don't know if that really should change it that much. I know we talked about like first appearance being important because it's the first on the blockchain and stuff like that. But, you know, even if they did something like maybe if they throw a special edition or just something where people feel like, you know, that kind of reinvigorates their interest, you know?
Yeah. I mean, for me, it's like special enough just because I understand what it represents. So I don't care about the tag at all.
Yeah.
And, you know, this is the first in what is going to be a series. So
true.
Again, what are you going to want more? It's like, now we have this whole series of golden moments. Are you going to want series 1? Or are you going to want series 5 because everyone's pumping it? The same is true. Like when we get more Mickeys, which Mickey is going to be most valuable? The first, of this series, the first is always going to be the most valuable.
Wow, well said. And so I guess on that note, can any NFT beat Walt and Mickey or what?
I mean, that's been a topic of debate for me. No, like I aesthetically, possibly, like there's a couple of things that could potentially beat it short term. But should they? No, I personally don't believe anything should beat Walt and Mickey, because that's where it all started. If you're buying because you understand the brand and the importance and the historical relevance and blah, 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 you're wanting Walt and Mickey because that's the beginning. But, you know, if we get an amazing castle, people are going to freak out, especially if it has like a firework or Tinkerbell going across it. Because again, that's kind of like Steamboat. You open, you know, any movie, turn on a movie, what do you see? Boom, that castle every time. So it's iconic. But again, wouldn't be here without Walt and Mickey. So like, I think that's kind of the piece that could rival it or stand with it. But I feel like that needs to be like a symbiotic relationship. They need to go hand in hand for me.
Right. Interesting. And is there any like Walt and Mickey memorabilia? Like, cause I was looking to get like a statue for myself, but I was looking at them, they're all like cheap looking. And I was like,
I know there's somebody in the community that it has been making them. They look cool. I haven't got one myself, but those look cool. There is, I've like tried, I'm holding myself back from buying everything. I'm upset because Disney has a lot of phone cases. I was going to show this in relation to annual pass holders. But like, this is my old one. I can't use it now because I got a new phone. But they have a partner statue phone case, and I saw it and freaked out.
Oh my gosh.
Because merch and everything with COVID, there's so many delays and shipment issues and blah, blah, blah. They don't have, I have an iPhone 13 now, so they don't have it for that phone. Otherwise that would have been bought and on my phone right now.
Wow.
Yeah. So they have that, and they have like, there's a scarf, and it has, it's actually blue and white, I think, or blue and silver. And it has Walt and Mickey, you know, the statue holding hands on the scarf, and it's cute. And there's a hat. They have all sorts of stuff. And I think, you know, what's funny is I don't know if it's just because now of the NFTs that I'm noticing it more, but it feels like there's more and more coming out.
Well,
I don't know if it's a tie.
yeah. Well, what's super interesting that you said there too is like all these, the world shortages, the shipment delays, and all these different things. And it's just like, what an incentive to start like focusing more into the digital world and
Right.
NFTs, right? For
Right.
Disney. Like, like imagine they're like, okay, we can't get you that phone case, but for X amount of money, we can give you this instead. And the other thing too is like, Veve has like that collectability aspect, but like it's possible that, maybe in the future they have NFTs that like if you come to their park, like 200,000 people get an NFT for that day. And you're
Like
just one of
Hobbs.
right, just like that. And then they just have so many of those, and it's like only if you want a certain day. So I mean, it's just really bullish. And that's the thing that's funny. Like I know we're in a tough time right now, the war and like the looming recession and that stuff, but it's like I don't know. I don't understand how this world won't go more into that, to that digital realm.
Oh, I totally agree. And can you
Yeah.
imagine if they had a promo like that? How many
Right.
people, I don't know the numbers, but how many people go to the parks each day? And if they have this one day where it's like NFT day, and you have
Yeah.
all these new people that don't even know what an NFT is, and they get a free one, all they have to do is download an app and scan a QR code, and boom, they have one in their wallet. You don't think they're going to go research and figure out, okay, this is cool. I can do all this stuff with where do I get more?
Yeah.
Like, oh, that would just totally shift everything. Like
Right.
you have so many people that would now know because, I still think there's more people than not that don't know what an NFT is and don't understand it. And that's why it's still so young for me. Like
Mm,
I think we have not tapped into the Disney collector market yet at all.
right. Wow, fascinating. And one thing that I see going off of what you said is that so many people don't even want to get involved with NFTs because it's such a crazy process. They hear
Yeah.
about, gas fees, slipping tolerance, like all these different things. They're like, what the heck does this even mean? And Veve comes out and says, buy now, and there's your NFT, and then here's the marketplace. And it's like that, I think, is the type of ease of use and ease of access that like I feel like Disney people could grab onto pretty quick
Absolutely.
if Disney started going, listen, this is how we're going to start doing this stuff, right? Yeah.
Yeah, like I don't personally own any other, like I don't own any OpenSea
Hmm.
NFTs because it for me is really overwhelming, and I I I don't want to invest the time and energy in it. And that is foolish on my part because I could be
Yeah.
making a lot of money. But like that's showing how I'm a different kind of collector than a lot of these guys in the app, guys and gals in the app that have all sorts of projects going on. And I've been gifted a couple of NFTs, and I'm like, I don't know how to receive it. Like I had to
Yeah.
get trained on how to even get it into my wallet because I had no
Yeah.
idea how to operate it. And it freaks me out, like even dealing with tokens and stuff, all that stuff like is just overwhelming for me. And the
Yeah.
fact that Veve is so easy to use and it speaks to you in terms that people who aren't heavy into crypto understand, like, oh, a gem equals a dollar. That makes sense.
Right.
It just it's I don't know that I would have gotten involved if it was like OpenSea. I would have been so scared that I don't know that I would have done it. So
Right.
thank you, Veve, for making it simple.
Yeah. But that's so interesting that you say that because there's a lot of really intelligent people that still
Oh,
won't
yeah.
even bother with the process because it's too risky and it has a really negative view a lot of the times. And so, for me, just like looking about like how I remember sending my first transaction, and then when it left my wallet, I couldn't see it, and I thought I lost like all this money, and I was freaking out, and I was like, oh my
Terrifying.
god, yeah. And then it went, but I was like, that was, everybody has to take that plunge when they start out, right?
Mhm.
So I mean, I guess other than that being like a deterrent, there's like, just this kind of negative perception of NFTs. Like, what other barriers do you think, I guess, exist that would, deter like some of your physical collecting friends into getting NFTs? Like, have you had conversations and like, what do they say to you and stuff?
Yeah, so I've had people ask me like, do you have a lot of your Disney friends? Like, are they into it? Because they kind of want to know, me
Right.
being a fan, like, so are we hitting the fans yet? Like, is this really, are they understanding it? And the answer is no, I don't have many friends that have gotten involved.
Mm,
And I've told them about it, and they are Disney fans. And the perspective I got from one of them was really interesting because I didn't see it. I thought that they just were like, it's just not for me. Whatever. And they said that they're an all or nothing collector. And when they collect, they go hard. and they were telling me stories of certain things they collect, and they've been around the world collecting these items, putting themselves at risk for like getting in trouble on tours and blah, blah, blah. And because they care that much and like needed to complete basically that set. And so I think they're just like, it's just too much. We know ourselves and we know to be insane about it. And I just can't, because it would be too overwhelming. Are they gonna, kick themselves later? Possibly not. And then I still think that there's just so many people that don't understand it. They just still, that's why I say, everything is still so early and so young, and in its infancy, is because the people I know that have no idea, we're talking every day in these spaces and everything, and very intelligent, people about crypto, NFTs and everything. And so they're like, oh, these people relate to the game. They don't even know the game exists because they don't understand it. Yeah. And so like, that's what I run into more often than not, that people are just like, I don't get it. Like, why do I want this? It's cool, but like, why do I want it? And so there needs to be that compelling story of why it is important for you to own these NFTs, and utility is going to be one of those things that will bring more people in.
So fascinating. And like you said, because it's still early, like the marketing and everything around it's kind of been like really low. Like even Disney's not really advertising Veve, and same with like, Marvel. Every now and then I'll see it, but like you said, it's kind of like on the down low currently. And it's probably just because it's so early. Like people can't justify, why would I spend 20 grand on, in their idea, a picture of Walt and Mickey, not understanding ownership, not understanding collectability, first appearance, all that stuff. And then, what like the utility to me is what's going to bring it over to the edge. When people say, oh, like if I get this NFT, I can go into a theme park as an example, or get discounts, then that's what's going to cause the wildfire. And I think it's just, do you have the patience to stick it out that long?
Right. Yeah. That's going to be the test of time. And I think a lot of people that own them currently, I think they all are sort of on the same page with us. And I think Disney's just still strategizing. I think there's a lot of strategy going on behind the scenes. But, again, because of all this stuff that I've experienced by going to parks and having a membership, but still getting freebies and experiences, and they're still making a lot of money off me. They, have, specific events and, again, merch and everything. I just, there's so much revenue that's out there that they could be getting from adding utility to parks, or even, I don't know, something within their streaming media. If you have an NFT, maybe you get some sort of perk. There's just so much more potential revenue for them, revenue streams, that I think there's a lot of strategy. And I think I feel like that's why it's the marketing is so minimal right now, is because they're developing that strategy of where are we going to go with this? What is this next phase? Like, this is a whole new potential revenue stream for them already. They're making a ton of money off these NFTs, but they're now like, okay, this is a big deal. Like, this can go somewhere. Right. So I think that's where they're at with it.
Interesting. So with your physical collection, your Disney physical collection, are you like a collector and somebody that just holds on to the stuff because it has, you have a sentimental attachment to it, you love it? Or are you like reselling this stuff like 5 to 10 years later? You're like, oh, you know what? I want to get rid of a few of these items, circulate my collection, and go get new stuff. Or how does that work for you in the physical world?
Yeah, that's an interesting question, because there is totally a market for resale. However, it is very, very much frowned upon. They will sell certain merch and people will want it really, really bad. And there's people that go to the parks every single day and buy a bunch of merch, and they turn around and flip it. And they used to, if they found out that you were a pass holder doing this, they used to ban your account. It's kind of like Veve, right?
Yeah. Yeah, true.
If there was like a limit, and there's certain things, like if you get an AP popcorn bucket, and it's limit 1 per customer, and if you like find the loophole of how you can get more and they catch you, you can get in trouble. So for me, it's I collect the stuff because I love it. But I also think like down the road, is this stuff going to be valuable and I could sell it for more money? Sure. Like, but I don't go into it for that. I go into it because I love the stuff. But yeah, I definitely see like, okay, if I decide to like declutter and get rid of some stuff, then yeah, this can fetch a price for sure. I mean, I resell some of my kids' stuff, like shoes and whatever. And of course, they wear like Disney 24/7 and
Yeah.
all that stuff, like used items that I buy for my kids, those resell for good money. Like
Yeah.
it's not just to like throw away stuff. Like people love the brand.
Right.
So yeah.
Super cool. So then I guess my next question following that is like, how does that apply to your NFTs? Because I'm assuming in the NFT realm, you've seen some, crazy price action, probably from, sometimes you've landed something for $60 in a drop. All of a sudden that same thing goes to $2,000. And so, what does that mean for you? Because the one thing for me is like, even though I collected as well, not to the extent you did and not Disney stuff, but if I ever saw 20X, I'm selling. Like, that's just me personally, right? Because
Yeah, I get that.
yeah. And so I guess like, how does that work for you? Like, are you like, no, like I'm just locking this stuff up. I want all the collection and I love to look at them and use them in AR, or is it kind of like, you know what? I see myself more of as an investor as in the NFT side and a collector in the physical, or are you collectors in both realms, or how, like, what does that look like?
Yeah, that's a great question because it's funny. When I came into this, I came in as an investor, like, hey, this is potentially a way to make some money. This is cutting edge stuff, like get in right now. Well, it's in the beginning. And that's what I did. And I bought just Batman and all that stuff, all that season 1 stuff is what I went after.
Right.
And I was not tied to them. Like I didn't love them. They're cool. I understand the relevance, but like I didn't love them. And so yes, it was just for investment purposes. But then when Disney hit, I still was kind of in the investment mindset. And I wish I was better at like, there's people that get things on the drop and then they sell them right away and then they buy on the down.
Yeah.
I can't do that with Disney. And I have had so many opportunities where I could have like, mint upgraded or something and still made a profit. And a lot of people make a lot of money doing that.
Yeah.
But because of the Disney things I love so much, I'm not willing to take the risk, even though like and I know I can do it,
Yeah.
but I'm like, if I lost it and it ran up and got, out of reach, I would never forgive myself for having like trying to be greedy, and make a buck. So for Disney, I might try that with other collectibles, but I won't do that with Disney because I'm just too terrified.
Yeah.
And so now I've had a stacking strategy with things that I can afford. And it's funny because that's where I figured out that I'm now becoming a collector, is because my whole strategy has been stack so that when things go up, you can sell them and you have the gems for then future stuff or when we have a market dip. And I can't let go of them.
Right.
I know I got 10 of these, but I love each and every one. It's like having to pick a favorite child. Like I love all my kids the same. Like I don't want to,
Yeah.
I don't want to part with any of them, even though that's why I did it. So it's like, I have become more of a collector. And now it's even hard to part with the season 1 stuff because as an investor, I understand how important they are. So I could, sell them and have gems freed up. And so I'm not like tied to them because I love them, but I'm from the investment standpoint, I don't want to let go of them because I see so much potential still for them. And I think they're going to go up so much more. So that's been a really hard struggle for me, is I've been having to just, put more and more fiat in because I just don't want to give any of it up.
Yeah. I hear you.
It's tough.
And the sad part for me is like, unlike the physical collecting world, right, where people collect Disney items because they love them, there's a lot of investors in here playing off people's emotions or collecting kind of styles, and then stacking the NFTs that everybody else thinks are going to do well, and then selling them and or pricing people that really love them out of the market, right? So I feel like that's the issue to me so far, is that like this isn't just a collecting app. Like there's a lot of crypto people, there's a lot of people are just in it to make a quick buck, but then there's people like yourself that are like, no, like this is such an important NFT. And so it's a really interesting like dynamic, right?
Yeah.
And so with like the more and more Disney stuff that we get, we're seeing like a lot of saturation right now. Like we're seeing like some of the NFTs go down in price, and they're just keeping pumping them out. And so I guess like, do you feel as though long term these things will like really be worth a lot more than they are now, or do you think that they're going to be kind of similar to like the collecting world where they're obviously sell at a premium, but maybe not to the same extent that we may have thought?
I think like the cream will rise to the top. I think the best of the best are going to be what stands out the most. And like, yeah, Are they all going to be huge winners? No, because there's just too much. There's just too much IP for everything to be amazing. However, you do have specific, markets, people that love Winnie the Pooh, people that love Stitch, people that love Tinkerbell. So even characters that may not necessarily be the most popular, for some people they are. The other thing that really benefits us is mint size. If they keep mint sizes this way, I think they all can do well, because when you're talking global fan base, millions and millions and millions of people, and if there's only 13,000 of these things available, that's going to keep the price up, because of all those millions of people, only 13,000 can own them potentially. Some people obviously have multiples, so it's yes and no. But that's where the blue chips get their name, is because those are going to be the ones that stand out the most historical pieces, the most popular characters, those are going to be the ones that people go to first.
Right.
In my opinion.
Very cool. Interesting. And like, that's the other thing that I wanted to kind of, pick your brain about too, is that, the more NFTs that we're kind of seeing now around Disney, I'm like, are they pumping out potentially all of their best IP before the master collector program comes in? Or is there a ton of Disney stuff that I'm just not aware of that's still coming?
I think congratulations to everybody that is in the app, because I think we've been given some really, really good stuff. Yeah. And so I'm grateful to be here and have the opportunity to get some of this stuff. Because they are giving us really, really good IP. But there's definitely still some good ones to come. We haven't gotten into specific, we haven't gotten into movies too much. Like if you want to do a whole line of characters from a movie, we obviously haven't hit the princesses hard yet. Like there's all these different genres, right? And that's up there in the list of the franchises. I think the Disney Princess franchise is like number 8 or something. I don't remember, but it's up there too. So there's definitely, I don't know when that's coming, but that's going to be a whole new realm too of Disney collecting. There's so much. Much.
Yeah, I know. And the thing is like, I was looking that up the other day, because I was like, oh man, like Snow White and Cinderella and all these other like huge characters,
which is the best.
Yeah. Right.
And it's totally depends on people's opinions.
Yeah. And that's the other thing too. Like, we don't even know how these NFTs are also going to look in a year from now when the technology is better. Like, what if you have Cinderella, spinning with the music going on in the background and she's moving with her shoe? Like,
that gave me chills.
Yeah. Right. Like,
so that's Walt Disney's favorite piece of animation is Cinderella doing her spin. That's why I got chills, is because if you had an animated Cinderella doing her spin, that's iconic, because that's like his favorite piece of animation. But another iconic, there's a friend on the app that is gonna love me doing the shout out, but another iconic princess is Snow White, because she's the first, and she's the first full length film that Walt Disney had.
Wow.
And he was nominated for an Oscar for like the musical score. And like, it's a really cool piece of history that I just learned, was that the following year he was given an honorary Oscar by Shirley Temple, but it came in the form of 7 miniatures. Chills again. How crazy is that?
That is insane.
Like that. So that's historically relevant. So Snow White may not be the favorite princess, but she's very historical. Cinderella may not be the favorite princess, but she has historical relevance because of that spin. So they all have their own individual importance. So it's like, how do you value who determines the value, right? And are you going to look at just market cap? Or are you going to look at historical relevance? Like, there's so many ways to weight them of which one should be the best.
Right. And that goes back to what you were saying earlier, is that everybody's going to have to start picking as to what's their favorite. And like, I remember the first time I saw Elsa in augmented reality, and I remember I actually got Elsa on the drop, and then I got another one. I only paid $200, and my God, like that NFT is so detailed, it's so incredible. And I don't know if you remember, but there was that whole thing with like Walt Disney, the Mickey hat, and Elsa all kind of having some kind of semblance together, or symbolism rather.
Yeah.
And like, do you still see that potentially like the Walt Disney animation as like, I guess the most valuable other than Walt and Mickey, or would you say like potentially Star Wars from that first golden moment set? Because it seems like it's a
That's
close
hard.
race. It's a close race, right?
Yeah. And just to touch back on the princesses,
Yeah.
I personally would value Elsa as the most important because she's the first in NFT form. So like for me, she may not be my favorite, but because she's our first NFT and she was like the kickoff of Disney animation,
Yeah.
like today's history, that makes her super important. So yeah, there's that. Yeah, I don't, those three pieces are really interesting. And I don't know how I personally kind of put them above the other ones because it was like Disney animation, but it's hard to do that too because Star Wars is such a mega brand. Like honestly, it's like they're all, again, it's like all my favorite kids.
It's all winners. Yeah.
They're all winners, and Star Wars is mega brand. And so again, like that's going to be the biggest thing we get from Star Wars. Obviously, Darth Vader is going to be huge. When we get ships, you know, Millennium Falcons, all that stuff's going to be huge. But this will always still be the first. Those two guys will always be the first. So for me, they should be more valuable.
Right. Right. Super interesting, you know, and what a freaking crazy opportunity. Like I remember always looking at like old comic books and cards and being like, these people that were like, you know, in their 60s and 70s, they got the first issued books. And I'm like, man, like that could be our kids in 20 years from now being like these lucky bastards that got onto the blockchain. You know what I'm trying to say? Like, yeah. And so I think Silicon Secure, you know, said it best when he said all this stuff is just, you know, they're just data points and it's the community that makes it valuable, right?
Totally agree.
Yeah. And all collecting principles in the physical realm and everything, it's all about like the first. And I mean, don't get me wrong, there's still some things that like Bored Ape said are good from community hype, but I think like that is an important collecting principle. And you probably see that with Disney, right?
Yeah, I mean, it's like even these little e-ticket booklets up there, like that's a piece of paper, but it's a historical piece of paper because that's how people got to first enjoy Disney parks. And so anybody that owns those things, I haven't personally looked, but I'm sure they're worth money. If they have like a really nice copy that they've, you know, kind of like done the whole like, you know, keeping it safe like we do with comics. If somebody's done that, that's probably worth a lot of money because it's a historical piece. You know, there's old park maps. If you have a park map for the day that Disneyland opened, that's going to be worth money. Little things that you think is just junk or whatever, like could be worth a lot of money. And so, you know, yeah, you don't want to be a hoarder, but like you look at the past and history and then you start thinking like, okay, this could be something, like this might be something I want to hold on to. And that's what I feel about these NFTs is like, this is something like, this is something completely different. The world has never seen. We've never seen Disney in this sort of medium. And if I have the first of some of this stuff, like to me, I think it's just, there's no way that I'm not going to win at this.
Yeah. It's kind of like, to me, I keep saying that it's like, it almost feels like a game over in a sense, you know? One thing I saw that I wanted to pick your brain about too, that it was really cool is Disney was like talking about how they're going to incorporate like holograms or something like that in their actual Disney theme parks.
There.
They're already there, you're saying, right? Like I've only been once, so I've never, like, maybe you can just, you know, enlighten me and other people too.
Yeah, there's a couple of rides that have them and they're really cool. So if you go into Rise of the Resistance, a lot of the new rides have like a pre-show. And you go and you get sort of like, they tell you a story. So this is where they're making it such an immersive experience. You go into the pre-show room and you've been told a story, and then you're going to go on your journey on the ride. And so in Rise of the Resistance, I'm sorry for anybody that hasn't been on the ride, I don't want to give away spoilers, but you go into the pre-show room and they beam in Rey. And she's talking to you and giving you instructions and telling you what's about to happen and blah, blah, blah. And it's a hologram of her, but you feel like she's right there. It's like, you know, having Princess Leia pressing R2D2 and then she's that, it's the same sort of thing, gives me chills, that they're recreating. And then they did the same thing with the new Spider-Man ride. You go into the pre-show room and Peter Parker gets up there. Hey, what's up, everybody? You know, I'm in my lab, blah, these spider bots are, you know, getting loose. Help me catch them. And that's an interactive ride. We're actually trying to catch spider bots and you're slinging webs. And so that's another hologram that appears to you. Yeah, it's really cool technology. I love it.
Wow.
So what can they do with, can they put holographic figures of our NFTs one of these days? You just scan your phone, something, because there's already a lot of interactability with your phones at the parks. They have I haven't personally done it, but they have in the app Play at the Parks, and you can be waiting in line for an old school ride like Peter Pan, and there's this lamp where you can make Tinkerbell. It shows like it's black, like it's there's nothing there, like it's not black, it's lit, but it's foggy. Right. And you can get her the fog to disappear, and then she's there. And then you do something on the phone, and you go on the ride, and on John's hat, Tinkerbell appears, but it only appears via you doing this game on the app. And that's an old ride. That's an old ride. Yeah. And look at how they've incorporated technology. So it's like
so cool.
You can totally do that with NFTs. I mean, they're already doing this stuff.
Yeah. Yeah. Wow. Holy. So what final advice would you give people right now? Because there's a lot of FUD in the community. A lot of people are concerned. Okay, the MTL is not here. There's a lot, and to be fair, there are some like legitimate concerns, but yeah. I guess like what was the advice that you give? Like, I know it's a lot of people say this is a long-term vision, it's a long-term play. But I just I think what people don't understand is like, these are Disney NFTs. Like, it doesn't matter which way you want to shake it. They were on Immutable first. It hit the blockchain first. Veve was the first to have the official license with them in terms of minting. So what is there anything that you'd want to tell the community on that?
Yeah, I would just say, like, why did you buy them in the first place? You believed in it, right? So if you believe in them, I don't feel like your belief should be shaken. I have been listening in a lot on the conversations, but I have purposely just been listening because I don't feel the need to get up and talk about it. So I'm taking in bits and pieces, and I'm really, really grateful to our community, because there are a handful of people that, even when all that's happening, they're very positive, and they are very good at reminding people, like, look what you have. I know, yes, there's some issues, but we have encountered issues since the beginning of this app. It is still a very, very young app. It's still new technology, and they're doing their best to work through it. And so just remind yourself of where, especially for the OGs, and a lot of the OGs understand, so they're not shaken, right? Yeah. And I appreciate them getting up and sharing their experiences, because when you hear the stories of how this app first started and how drops first started and how you be trying to get a drop for an hour and the phone is glitchy, you better be in the app an hour before the drop, or else you're not getting into the app. All that kind of stuff. That's only a year ago, less than a year ago, that you couldn't even log in to get a drop.
Yeah.
So they have been making improvements every step of the way, and they're going to continue. So like, for me, I believe in Veve, the brand. I know these guys are working their butts off, and I believe in the brands I'm investing in, because these brands aren't going away anytime soon. They're not like Disney's around, like they practically own the world, like they're not going anywhere. And to say that you own the first of these things, just remember that, like, just buckle up and hang on tight, and just remember what you have and have confidence in that. Like, I have never been shaken in my investment. Have I been a little weary, or, do I get a little nervous about what's going on? Yeah. Do I think they're going to fail? No, I don't. Right. Like, every company goes through growing pains, every single company. So. Right.
Wow. Well said. Especially a company that's pioneering the space, but my gosh, if you want your, daily fix of positivity, intelligence and optimism, VeVeMagic's the one. So make sure to follow her on Twitter. She does do a lot of spaces, so it's really cool, because I often just pop in and listen to you speak, and I thought it was so important for your voice to be heard, and just so many things that I feel like I still need to pick your brain on. So I definitely want to have you back, but really appreciate you spending some time with me today and letting the community know all this stuff.
Thank you. This is fun. I feel like I got myself pumped up too, like just listening to myself talk. I'm like, yes, you're right. Like,
you are too. And I feel like if next time I go to Disneyland, I'm gonna contact you, because I feel like I feel like you're gonna give me the lay of the land, and I've only been once, and it was an amazing experience, so I'd love to do it again.
That'd be fun. I can't wait for us to have like a Veve meetup. I know they are gonna do the Anaheim convention and then go, and I'm like, oh my god, I have to go, because that'll be so much fun.
Yeah. When is that one?
I don't remember.
Okay, that's what
I think it was last year. So like, Alex was talking about it, that it was fall, but it was really, really hot.
Okay. Okay. Yeah. Cause like I said, we get screwed here in Canada, man. Like there's like, they weren't at the Toronto one. It was so small, but yeah,
Oh,
I know. So anyways, thanks so much for your time. And
Thank
yeah, let's do
you.
this again soon.
Sounds good. Thank you.
Okay. Take care.